Welcome everyone to another episode of the Black Beauty Activist Podcast. My name is Dr. Tameka Ellington. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an educator, a speaker, fashion scholar, and a lover of everything that is Black culture. And I am super excited about today's episode. This is a woman that I've been admiring from afar for quite some time. And just like my last episode, if you watch my last episode, and the guest that I had on there, her name was Camille Ganese. And Camille, what was really interesting about Camille and the way that we got connected, I met her twice before she and I actually really started talking. So what I mean by that is I met her at an event, and then later on, someone else introduced me to her again. And so the same thing happened with this next guest. I actually met her through a program that I was working with, the Stark County Minority Business Association, SCAMBA. They had an event where they were teaching us entrepreneurs about grant writing, and they invited this person to come in to do what she did was an amazing grant writing workshop for us. I left with so many questions and left with the desire to want to talk to her more and learn more about her. And just so happened, a mutual contact that she and I had, this wonderful lady, Gail, from who's the CEO of a business called the Savvy Red Pen. Gail actually helps women with book writing, and she does coaching for women who want to publish their books or whatever. But Gail connected me with this person second time around meeting, which meant that it was meant for she and I to actually get a chance to talk. And so I'm really excited and really pumped to get a chance to meet her today. This is going to be an incredible conversation. For those of you that know me, know that I love fashion, and my next guest is all about fashion. She is a fashion and funding diva. That's what I'm calling her, a fashion and funding diva. Activist, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Linda Peavy. Hi,
Hello,
Linda.
hello, Dr. Tameka. Oh my gosh, it is my great pleasure to be on with you today. And I just want to say how great it is to see you again. And I'm so proud of all of your success. And I'm just honored, really, to be on this podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so happy that you were able to come. We will get into your bio first. And then before we start the questions, I want everybody to learn a little bit about you and the work that you've been doing and how you serve your clients. And so Linda Peavy is a native of Cleveland, Ohio, and the founder of Culture Curve, sophisticated style, fashion, and beauty for curvy women over 50 blog. From the young age, from a young age, she has been passionate about fashion and beauty. However, an epiphany of her true calling came when she reached her mid 50s and felt the need to empower mature, curvy women through motivational messaging, fashion, and style advice. Thus, Culture Curves began officially in June of 2019. The goal of the blog is to encourage, inspire, and motivate plus size women over 50 to live their best life now in the present. Linda is dedicated to bringing awareness to their unique needs to the forefront of plus size fashion and beauty markets. Culture Curves has been named one of the best blogs on the planet for women over 50 by FeedSpot. It's Rosie.com states that culturecurves.com is one of the best bloggers over 50, and the blog is a 2023 Outstanding Blogger of the Year nominee by the Full Figure Industry Awards. That's incredible, Linda. That's incredible.
Very proud.
Yeah, you should be. In February of 2024, Linda published the award-winning The Culture Curves Guide to Style for Mature Curvy Women, Volume 1, a roadmap to developing an effortless style for mature women, including tips and suggestions on fashion, makeup, and skincare. And the book debuted in the middle of Times Square and became an Amazon top new release. Linda provides body positivity workshops internationally and has spoken to crowds of women from New Jersey to St. Martin. Her written contributions can be found in several media forms, including Hello 50, Growing Bolder Magazine, Bold Magazine, and most recently, the TodayShow.com, where she is considered a mature, curvy style expert. Linda is the owner of La Pave Consulting, a marketing and grant writing firm, and clients have included the Miss America organization, the United States presidential campaigns, and as a master grant writer and now instructor, she has secured over $17 million in funds for her clients. She founded a grant writing academy with 2,000 students and has trained over 10,000 organizations in grant writing. Linda earned a BS in Business Administration Marketing and an MBA in Management from the University of Akron. And her motto is never let mediocrity be your measuring tool. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that was an amazing, amazing introduction. So thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
You know what's incredible is like when you do the work and you have this amazing bio, and then when people read it, you actually get to sit and listen to
No,
all of the amazing things that you've done. And sometimes it's like it's surreal, right?
it's surreal, but I always come to the thoughts of it's just like grace. It's grace. It's just grace and being blessed to do something that you're so passionate about. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the amazing thing, is to get to do something that you know is of help to people. I've considered myself a servant leader since I was 15 years old. And so I don't know how to do anything else but really to serve, and to know that the gifts and the talents that God has bestowed upon you is actually helping other people to be that vessel. That instrument is just like, that's it. Like, I feel like as long as God keeps using me, like I have won the lottery. I have already won. I truly, truly feel that way.
That's a beautiful thing. And, you know, I always tell people that I speak to that no matter what it is you do, I tell kids, I speak to a lot of kids all the time, and I tell the kids, no matter what it is, what your talent is, no matter if you are good at writing, maybe you're good at dancing, maybe you're an artist, maybe you're into fashion, maybe you're a doctor, whatever the case might be, no matter what you're going to do in life, you're here to serve
Yes.
for the good of others.
That's it. That's it.
You're here to serve. Everybody here, this podcast is here to serve
Absolutely.
and give people information and educate others. So no matter what it is, if you didn't know, people that are watching, if you did not know that the job that you get up every day in the morning and do, or maybe that business that you have every day and you get up and work that business is meant to serve others.
Absolutely. Absolutely
Mhm.
it is.
Yes, yes, yes. Please tell us a little bit about you, how you grew up and how you got interested in fashion and being an advocate for curvy women.
Well, I it just started. I remember being a little girl. I've always been, since the second grade, I've been in a plus size body, literally since the second grade. I was a chunky little girl. I was a full teenager. And so I've known nothing else but this plus size body. And I just remember in elementary school when the other kids were drawing like cats and dogs, I was drawing dresses. So clearly, like this innate desire for me to love fashion was ingrained in me, and it ended up serving me well as an adult, because back in the 70s and 80s, when you were plus size, like there weren't good clothes for you, right? And I was the largest person in my family, so the hand-me-downs, I'm one of 8 kids, so the hand-me-downs like didn't necessarily fit me. And so that was always a struggle as to what to
Mhm.
wear, to what to put on this plus size body. And then as I started my professional career, I was a publishing executive. I had to travel around the world to, Europe, to Puerto Rico, and many different places. But I traveled as this plus size woman, and I knew that I needed to represent this demographic, because I knew if I was the only plus size woman that somebody in Paris or London had to place their eyes on, I was going to represent, because there's always
Mhm.
been this stigma that if you're
Mhm.
plus size, you're lazy, you don't work, you're at home eating bonbons. And I was an executive then, and I just knew that I had to represent that. I was going to counter the stigma. And so that's why fashion, it was more important than just what I put on my body, because I needed to represent a plus size professional woman. And so that's really where it started. And I was always conscious of what I look like. And
Mm,
I would get compliments constantly from women of all sizes. So I received a lot of love eventually, right? After I became an adult. But at the same time, I started to hear from women who didn't know how to put together an outfit, who didn't feel good about themselves. I'm super blessed in that, being one of 8 kids, my mother and my father being in the home, I was always told that I could be anything I wanted to be. There was never ever an issue about my size or my weight. It's like, Linda, whatever you want to be, you're going to be. And so hearing from women who didn't have that in their homes, who didn't grow up in an environment of love, who had no idea how to dress their plus size bodies, that is really what allowed me to begin the idea of creating this community where I could allow women to have a voice, but also to let them know that they're good enough, that they're
mm.
good enough, and that they can present themselves to the world in a great way and in a great space. So part of Culture Curves, the blog, was developed to, yes, say, this is where you can shop if you need an evening dress, or if you want the perfect fitting pair of jeans for, a hippie girl, and I'm a hippie girl. But in addition to the makeup tips and the anti-aging resources, it was about inspiration and inspiring these women to know that, yes, you can show up even though you're over 50. They tell us to go sit in a corner, that we don't, when you turn over 50, your life is over. And I'm here to say, no, no, for many of us, our lives literally have just begun.
That's true. Absolutely.
Who are divorced, right?
Yep.
So they're
Amen.
presenting themselves anew, or maybe
Yep.
they're retired.
Right.
They want to have a casual experience for traveling, or maybe they're empty nesters, right? And so they're no longer seen as the parent, right? Now they have time and space to take care of themselves. So the blog was about so much more than just fashion and beauty. It was really about self love and self esteem from a perspective of being in a curvy body. And from the blog, I ended up writing the book.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Jeez. You already answered so many of my questions. Oh my gosh. So what's beautiful about it is the advice, the tips that you give. I got a chance to go through your blog, and some of the I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is great advice for anybody.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anybody. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, because this is the Black Beauty Activist podcast, most of the women that watch this podcast are Black women. I wanted to find out, in particular, are there specific needs that curvy Black women have, other than others? Is there anything that you have ever had to, um, has there been any details in your blog or anything that you've had to do differently for, specifically for Black curvy women?
Oh gosh. Okay. So where do I start? Let's start with clothing, right?
Yeah,
With fit.
yeah,
Because that's the one thing I teach is fit. And we have beautiful curvaceous bodies. And it doesn't matter if we have larger stomachs, there it's beautiful. If we have larger hips, they're beautiful. So being in a Black body, right? People aren't making clothes for us.
that's
Right.
true.
So when we go into the
That
store,
is true.
typically the clothes that you see in the store were created for a particular size fit model. And
Yeah,
so the fit model may be a size 10. And
yeah,
so to get to that size 24, they're just adding inches. They're not
yeah.
taking into consideration the fact
Shape.
that we may have hips, or the fact
Yeah.
that we may have a larger tummy, right? And so especially with Black women, I teach, one, expect to be able to get a great seamstress, right? Because it is
Mm,
rare that you go into a store and you get a garment that fits you perfectly. And I
mm.
always say, just because something is on sale, if it doesn't fit right, that's not reason for you to buy it. But if you're going to buy it, get a good seamstress, especially for Black women. Get a good seamstress so that the clothes will fit to your shape in your body. That's one, right? Two is that we want to buy from Black designers.
Yes, we do.
Right?
Yes, we
It is
do.
so rare when you look at the retailers. How often do you find a famous Black designer in a Nordstrom's or Macy's? They've gotten a little bit better in carrying some Black designers and even places like Target, but oftentimes we want high-end Black designers.
That's
And
true.
so every single year I create a blog that highlights at least 30 to 40 Black designers. And I'm speaking of runway designers. So if you want a couture dress, if you want, a custom jean outfit, you know where to go. So for me, that representation in the design world is everything because we're not seeing it in stores. We're not seeing it in magazines, right? We're not
Absolutely.
seeing it on TV.
Absolutely.
Able to find Black designers. And third, I talk a lot about makeup, right? And so I teach when you have more melanin in your skin, for most of the years, right, when makeup was developed, how many shades were there?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe three, maybe four. You had
Right.
one dark shade that was
Right.
supposed to cover all of us, right?
Right.
So now I teach, first of all, how to wear makeup based on your skin tone and your undertone, but especially where do you go? Where
Right.
do you go where you can get makeup that takes into consideration hundreds of different skin tones. So I
Yeah.
often recommend companies like Fenty, like Juvia's Place, even your mainstream lines like Estee Lauder has done like a 360 because now you can probably get 50 or 60 shades. So a lot of people follow the Fenty method of
Yeah.
really being able to provide a wide range of makeup. So I often show women of color, how do you buy makeup for your skin? What are those considerations? But also, where do you go?
Yeah.
If you want to purchase from a Black retailer, where should you be looking? Where should you be going? And so I often highlight those Black designers, even in the book, like a Fenty and like a Juvia's Place.
Wow. Oh my gosh. You're a wealth of knowledge. I mean, you really, really are. And I'm soaking it all in because me being someone who was my first job that I had was actually in fashion design. So my background is in fashion. I taught fashion for 15 years at Kent State University. And listening to you, it's like, man, I wish I would have had her. She would have been like a perfect big sister for me. Like me and her would have had such a good time, talking about fashion and doing the fashion thing. But you're such a wealth of knowledge, and I can see why the blog has been awarded all of these, fantastic accolades because you know what you're talking about
Thank
and
you.
you have great advice. The things that you're like bringing to the forefront, the fact that you're even calling out Black designers. I mean, come
Oh,
on,
that to
that's
me,
a big
that
deal.
representation is everything. And you
That's a
speak
big
of you speak of Kent State. My book is now in the Kent State Fashion Museum bookstore. So that was just a
deal.
huge coup for me because we
Oh
know that's the
my gosh.
renowned school of fashion. And for them to say this book is special, like our designers need to know that this book is available because as you know, right, if you're a designer, you really need to be able to design for all kinds of shapes and all kinds of different body sizes. So yes, you can find my book in the Kent State Fashion Museum bookstore.
Nice. So that means that did you get a chance to meet Sarah Rogers before she retired? Did you get a chance to meet her?
I didn't. I met her online. I met her just
Okay.
with emails right before
Okay.
she retired. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's one of my close buddies, close
Oh,
buddies.
excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
we've done lots of projects together, she and and I was sad to see her go, but happy, for her as well, and that she gets to have this new phase of her life.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but that's awesome. And being someone who taught fashion at Kent State University, I know firsthand that they still today still have this narrow focus of beauty that is being taught in the books. Because I was a designer, I taught illustration, and I had a problem with the books that were required to be used for the students.
That's
And
right.
there's not many books on the market that you can choose from that actually even have representation of Black bodies in the books.
So
So,
that was important for me. So that was important in the book. There are over 200 images of, I call them real size bodies, right? Clothes on real size bodies. And I would say probably 90% of those women that are showcased in my book are women of color, because
nice.
I wanted to show real clothes on real bodies. Like I'm in there certainly, but also, again, I wanted to make sure that we were represented in the book, because it is an issue. You talk about standards of beauty, and that's why I
Mhm.
serve as an advocate for curvy women over 50, because yes, there's been like this boom in the plus size industry over the course of the last few years, but we've still been excluded. Like I turned 61 this year, and we're still excluded from the magazines,
Yep.
the ads.
Yep.
We're not seeing women over 50 being represented, especially since literally our disposable income is actually higher than our
Yeah.
younger counterparts. So these designers and manufacturers and retailers, they're literally leaving money on the table by not including us. And so when you're teaching fashion, you would hope, right, that they are providing all different body sizes, because the average size American woman is a size 16 now, right? So you
Mm.
hope that they would represent many different kinds of bodies and shapes, and when they're teaching people, how to create designs.
And unfortunately, that is not the case. They
Mm,
are, it's still a very narrow focus on beauty and fashion. Like even when I went to school as a fashion designer, we learned on a size 10 wolf dress form how to
wow.
create clothing. The students still use the same size 10 wolf dress form
Wow.
today.
Today,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
That,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. That's what we
That
use.
that needle needs to move. That needle definitely needs to move.
Yep. 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 Yeah. There's, you know, the fashion industry itself is just one that is a very exclusive industry, right? If you're not thin, if you're not tall, if you're not white, if you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes,
Mhm,
you're oftentimes excluded.
mhm.
And it's still very exclusive. And that's the reason why I started this podcast, is because all of the things that I talk about on the podcast is my contribution to us breaking down westernized standards of beauty.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's clear what you're saying, right? All you have to do is look at the fashion magazine covers,
Oh yeah.
or the representation of who's lifted up as being most desirable, most
Right.
beautiful on social media. And you would think that, in 2024 things have changed, and they have changed a
A
little. Like
little. A little.
now you see a plus size woman on the cover of Sports Illustrated, right? Or you see, some of the black, especially curvy models being utilized in some of the New York Fashion Week runway shows. And I give
Right.
props to the designers that say, we need to be designing for all bodies. Designers like Christian Siriano, who has just from the very beginning has been a voice to be able to, yes, showcase beautiful, curvy bodies during New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And, it's shameful that he's still one of the few, right, who
Yep.
will say, look, we need to be designing for everyone. Um, so yeah, it's still a struggle.
The main thing, actually, a couple years ago, I did a research study where I looked at Harper's Bazaar and Elle magazine. I did, it was a like what we call a longitudinal study, so over a span of 10 years. So I looked at 2000 and then actually went and looked at 2012. I wanted to see in the magazines, had there been a difference in the type of feature that Black designers were getting. And what I mean by that is like size. What were they talking about? Was the designer featured or was it just their clothing? And what I found out was that over a span of 10 years, nothing changed. What they would do is if the magazine called out a Black designer, they would choose one person who would be the what do you call the person that the Black person that they always pick.
The token.
Yes.
The token.
It would be the token, and they would have one token for the year, and that's who they would highlight for the whole year. You wouldn't see any other Black designers except for that one token.
And it's so fascinating when you think about it, because if you know just the buying power of the Black community, you would think, right, that there would be just a race to be able to highlight people in our community, just knowing how much we spend on beauty products, on clothing, on different kinds of fashion. But those same stereotypes, unfortunately, exist. And it's really interesting, something you just said about whether or not they would maybe showcase their couple of fashion pieces or give them a full article.
Right.
To really talk about who they are, their background,
right,
maybe their upcoming collection. But for them, I'm sure, by just showcasing a few pieces of article, I'm sure they felt that they were doing that designer a favor without really showcasing that person's background. So
absolutely,
that's amazing.
The full page, features oftentimes were given to artists, like fashion designers that were non-minority. Some of them that might get them might be people, like if it was a quote unquote minority person, it might be somebody that is like Spanish or something like that. But most of the time, if there was a full page ad, it was not given to a person of color. People of color most of the time got half page or quarter page ads in those magazines. Features where they talk, like where they, and even interviews, like how sometimes like in the magazine, they'll interview the designers. Rarely would you see a Black designer being interviewed in those magazines.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important. That's why in the book, there is a special section in the back of the book of Black designers. So if you want a Black design, you go to the back of my Culture Curves book, you know where to go. And again, every year I make sure I do a full piece just highlighting, Black designers, even on the blog, because it is important. You have so many up and coming Black designers, right? That want a chance. And it's just made so difficult. So difficult.
Wow. And so you are a multifaceted, talented Black woman. And not only are you a voluptuous beauty and fashion diva, but you also are an expert grant writer. And that's how I originally met you, was coming to one of your webinar courses that you did, where it was freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
And I left that grant writing workshop, filled up, wanting to learn more and that kind of thing. You really inspired me. And you've secured more than $17 million for your clients. Can you talk a little bit about how did you get into grant writing?
So I actually got into grant writing by accident. So I used to be, many moons ago, I've led many lives. Many moons ago, I used to be a publishing executive in Pennsylvania. And then I ended up getting hurt and had to move back home to Cleveland. So when I moved to Cleveland, I started my company, LaPop Consulting. It's been like 16 years. And one of my first contracted positions was to be the executive director of a nonprofit. And so that's how I got into the nonprofit world. So if you know anything about nonprofits, oftentimes they exist based on grants.
Yeah.
So that's when I really learned the importance of grant funding for nonprofits. And as the executive director, I needed to be able to bring in grants. I had never seen a grant before, but I utilized the experiences from being a marketing director and just learning how to write persuasive copy. And so that's where grant writing started. But I realized that it became my most sought after service.
Wow.
So many organizations need grant funding, but they really, it's one of those areas where there's so many unknowns. You just know it's free money, but you don't know how to get it or what the avenues are. And so that's when I started taking on clients and writing grants, and clearly became, really good at the research and the writing, and ended up being able to secure over $17 million in grants for my clients across the board, churches, schools, for profits, veterans organizations, youth organizations, you name it. I think I've written a grant for that kind of organization. But a couple of years ago, I decided that I needed to do more because I could only help so many organizations writing one grant at a time. And that's when I created my Grant Writing Academy. And that's the grant writing for non-writers. And so I built an online school where for-profits, nonprofits can take a grant writing course where they can learn soup to nuts, not just the art of writing the grant, but how do you find funders that really align to your mission. And so one way in which I provide a service is that I provide free grant writing webinars that are about an hour and 15 minutes long, and they're geared towards Black owned organizations and Black-led nonprofits, and then women-owned organizations and women-led nonprofits. And so that's how I've been able to train over 10,000 organizations that have come onto that completely free grant writing webinar to just train them on, these are some of the basics. And of course, if they want more, I always urge them to get the course. And I have about 2,500 students now who are part of the academy, where they're learning how to research and write grants, not just for their nonprofits, but yes, for their for-profits, for their small businesses. So many Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses have been able to secure, some hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant money by being able to take the grant writing course. So, that's something that I still provide. I still provide my free grant writing webinars. I still have my free platform where you can come on and take that webinar. And then I do provide the grant writing course for the academy as well.
Yeah, and if the free course was phenomenal, I can only imagine with the actual course, the paid course is like, because
Right.
you
It's
do
soup to nuts. It really will. People have taken it and really, they've actually become professional grant writers because it's very, and I'm serious about money. I'm serious about helping people get money. So you're taught what you need to know to really be able to find the organizations that are providing money for you, based on your mission and the work that you do. As yes, it is soup to nuts.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. My gosh. And so in the blog that you created, the types of topics that you talk about in the blog, we spoke a little bit about some of those, but one of the ones that was really interesting to me was the one where you talk. I'm the kind of woman who loves consignment. I love thrift, and I love the blog that you created, all about finding
Yes.
thrift items. And some of the tips that you gave, you said, dress for success. Thrift stores don't have changing rooms. Wear a bathing suit or a leotard under easy to remove clothes. Like, you're teaching them, like, especially for those people that don't thrift, like how to thrift and be ready when you go thrift. You said make friends with the neighborhood tailors, like you were saying.
Yes.
Make sure that you have somebody that can tailor those clothes for you.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's such good advice.
So if you're not thrifting, start thrifting.
Yeah.
Because you can find incredible gems. And oftentimes, I mean, depending upon where you go, there's like an upscale thrift store or consignment store that's near me that, I mean, they carry so many designer handbags, designer clothes. So there is such a thing as an upscale, consignment store if that's what you want. But you would be surprised how many hidden gems you find, in your average consignment store.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a shopper. I just love to shop. But I know that, look, people come with different budgets, and it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes it doesn't even matter what your income is. I love shopping. I will go to a thrift store, and I'm as excited about a for sale item that I find as if I'm going to like some high end store. So absolutely, I am a huge advocate of consignment stores. If you are on a budget, or even if you're not on a budget, it is amazing what you can find in consignment stores.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm the kind of person that when I dress, I don't like dressing like anybody else. I don't want anybody else to look like me. And
Mhm.
so one of the ways that I can almost guarantee that that is going to be the case is by shopping consignment and shopping
Absolutely.
thrift. Because I'm not
Oh,
gonna like my clothes didn't come off the rack where somebody else can, like, if I'm going to a party, somebody else is going to have the same dress that I have on.
yes.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to always look unique. And I'm the kind of person, I like to mix and match designer and consignment together. Like, depending on where I'm going, if I'm going someplace, I'll, like, maybe I might my dress. Actually, I went to one of the great consignments or thrift stores that I just got caught wind of is
Really?
is in Cleveland. It's across the street from the Randall Park Mall. Have you been to that one? I
No.
I found a full length sequin dress with bat wing sleeves for $1.
Oh my gosh. You
$1.
you have to share that one, because I've gone to quite a few in the Cleveland area, but I definitely have not been to
Good.
that one.
It's very
It's
good.
amazing. It's amazing. And I want women to know that, they need to try this. They need to go to consignments, because
Mhm.
they're going to be surprised at the
Yep.
gym. And it's just what you said, right? Finding your style. And that's part of what I show women in the book, because a lot of women come to me, they don't know their style. They don't know what their style is, right? And everybody has a style. Some
Mm-hmm.
women, they're jean women, right? They're
Yeah.
not necessarily into dresses, they're into comfort clothes, right? Other women like me, I dress to go get the mail, right? That's just me. People know if they go see me walking down, I'm going to be in full hair, makeup, everything. But that's just, I'm a girly girl.
Yeah.
So what I try to do, so there's no right or wrong way,
Yeah.
right? So what I teach in the book is how to find your signature style and then dress accordingly, right? Because even if you are a jean person or a more casual person, that's fine. There's still a way that you can show up as
That's
the best
right.
version of yourself.
That's
And
right.
rocking some great jeans and a great top. I always say, like, I don't do there no what are the clothes call on the weekend where I think it started in the hospitals where you have like the green pants and the green top
The lounge scrubs.
scrubs, right?
Yes.
I always say no scrub weekends. Like, I can show you how to have a no scrubs weekend. And I know people wear scrubs for the comfort, but you can be as comfortable in a pair of khakis, in a pair
Yeah.
of pants, and a nice top. Like, you don't have to wear pajamas on the weekend to be comfortable. You can choose other stylish clothes and be just as comfortable. So I show women, regardless of their style, again, how to show up as literally the best version of yourself. Because I truly believe that when you look good, you feel better about yourself. I've seen it time and time and time again. So for me, it's always important for women to show up. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I when I look at those three particular areas that I often find that women find themselves in, either they're divorced or they're empty nesters, or maybe they're retired. They've given oftentimes their whole life to somebody else, or maybe to their
Mm-hmm.
kids, or maybe to their
Yeah.
spouses. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, in their 50s and 60s, like, it's me time. And
Yeah.
oftentimes they don't know what that is. They don't know how to show up as the best version of themselves, because they've spent their entire life catering to someone else, which is great. But now it's time for them to cater to themselves. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't know how. So the book is a way through.
Wow. That's, uh, what really, what really got me excited about having you on is talking about, I wanted to talk to you about your latest experience with the award that you won for through Luxe Style magazine.
Yes.
Yeah, and you went to, did you go to Florida? Is
I
that
went
where
to
you went?
Miami. I went to Miami Beach. It was
Okay.
amazing. So I was nominated. So Luxe Style Magazine is an upscale magazine about like the luxe life. And what's so beautiful about that magazine is that they are size inclusive, right? So they're letting you know, like, you don't have to be a size 2 to have a good time. And so I was nominated for Author of the Year, had no idea, literally no clue whether or not I was going to win. But I said, you know what? I'm taking full advantage of these experiences because they may never come again. So I got on a plane and I went to Miami Beach. And sure enough, I won the award for Author and Writer of the Year. And it was such an amazing experience to be there. Candace Christian is the founder of the Luxe magazine awards, and it was amazing to be there and to be a part of that experience. And it was followed by Miami Swim Week, so I had a chance
Nice.
to see many different swimsuit competitions and swimsuit designers on these beautiful plus size bodies. So the entire experience was just, I mean, it was just magical. It's like, yes, we are here and we are showing up and we look good doing it.
Wow. Wow. It's when you get awards or accolades, the work that we do, we don't do the work to get the award, but what the award does is it gives us affirmation that we're on the right track,
Right.
you know?
And it does, because you don't know.
Right.
You never know
Right.
who's looking.
Right.
This
That's
book
right.
was literally a labor of love. It took me 3 years to write this book because I just wanted to get it right. And you show up, you do the work, you give, you present, you showcase other people's work, you showcase what everyone else is doing, and you do it because I clearly love, like, this is a mission for me, like this is a ministry for me. And so for somebody to say, like, job well done, it was overwhelming for me. It was totally
Mhm.
overwhelming for me,
Yeah.
because I don't take any of this for granted. And it was just a tremendous blessing. And I've also been nominated as Content Creator of the Year, and that ceremony is in New York in November, from the Full Figured Industry Award. So I'll be going to to New York in November to find out whether or not I get the award for Content Creator of the Year. But it was a very stringent process to even be nominated. So truly is one of those situations where I'm just so proud to be nominated. I think there's maybe 3 of us that made like the final nomination round of, hundreds of content creators. So again, it's just an incredible blessing.
Okay, you know what I want to know? How do you have time? Like, how do you fit all of the things in? And the reason I'm asking that is because I'm a person who thrives in excellence. I believe in only excellence. And excellence takes time to create. As you mentioned, the book took you 3 years. But I wanted to find out, how do you have time? How do you spend your days, you know, doing the work that you do? How do you have time to focus on all the things that you're doing? Just a piece of advice for people who thrive in excellence and want to continue to be excellent.
I think for me, the planning piece of it is critical. And for me to have it on my calendar means I'm going to make time to do it.
Yep.
Right. And
Yes.
so if I don't have it on the calendar, I might miss it. It
Yep.
probably won't get done.
Yep.
I even write tasks. So I don't just use my calendar for my dates. I use my calendar for my tasks. So I know, even if I didn't get something done this day, the task will remind me I need to be working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a small staff, but they're a mighty staff. And the people that are with me, they've been with me, most of them, for a long time. So they've seen the evolution. and they show up because they know I'm passionate about what I do, and they go above and beyond. Because people who know me, even when I was a publishing executive, I probably had 20, 25 direct reports to me. I've always expected excellence of people around me. And if I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it, you probably won't be working for me long, because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
any other way.
Yep.
That's why I talk about the mediocrity. It
Yep.
cannot be your measuring tool. That it is expected of us as a people of color. There's
That's right.
an expectation
That's right.
that we provide excellence. We
That's
don't have a choice.
We don't. There is no mediocrity is not a
We
choice.
don't have a choice. We
Yep.
have to show up, and we have to show up with excellence. And so that's what I also require of people who work with me, and they know that, right? But they see I set everything by example. They see my dedication. I work extremely long hours. I'm a night owl, so I usually get to bed maybe 1 o'clock. But they show that I'm putting in the time. And oftentimes, if you are an entrepreneur, there just is no way around it. There are no shortcuts. You have to put in the time. But for me, it makes it just a little bit easier if I'm able to map out what I need to do on my calendar. I already know the projects that I have to accomplish in the next 3 months, right? So planning is everything. But for me, I've got to put it down in writing, because that
Mm-hmm.
guides me. My calendar guides me. And so that allows me for time to do the work. But I have to say, because this is important again, I'm 61 years old. I I am fully aware that I can't work 24 hours a day. Right. So I have to provide, even amongst all of the work that I do, and I work at a very high level, I have to extend myself some grace. I
Yeah.
have to build in to my schedule some me time. And that's what I really try to teach, especially to the young entrepreneurs that are just going, 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 going. That gets old real quick.
Yes, it does.
You have to have something in the tank to give. And if you
Mm-hmm.
are constantly depleting, right, your ability to create and to act, it gets old soon. So you've got to incorporate into your calendar. And that's different for everybody. For some people, it could be watching a silly show on TV. For other people, it could be traveling. For other people, it could just be going to the salon,
Mm-hmm.
once a week. But there's
Yeah.
got to be something in your schedule that is just for you.
Yep.
And there's no way around it. You've got
Yeah.
to be able to replenish in order to continue giving.
Yep. Something that I promised myself. I am after I decided to turn my life around, to turn my life upside down, really is what I did. I taught fashion for 15 years at Kent State University. I decided after I was dean for the College of the Arts, assistant dean for the College of the Arts for 2.5 years,
Amazing.
and decided that it was time for me to step away to pursue my entrepreneurial endeavors. And in doing so, I ended up having to also divorce, um, because I had a spouse who was not very supportive in that. And so it was very important for me to find something that I could do for myself.
Yep.
It was a promise for me to myself that not only am I going to take care of myself, but I'm also going to keep an abundant mindset.
Yep.
When I was making, the money, and when I was married, we had a great budget, but I wasn't taking care of myself. Like, I would never do these small things for myself. It was always my husband or my kids or whatever. But when I got divorced, I said, I'm going to do this for myself.
Right.
So every 2 weeks, I go and I get my nails done every 2 weeks. And I've promised myself that since I got divorced, and I've kept that promise to myself since I got divorced and since I became an entrepreneur, that that is my one small thing
Yes.
that I'm going to keep doing for myself.
And it has to be something, and it's different for everyone.
Yes, yes.
It's different, but as long as it's something that brings you joy.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more important I realize it is that every single day God allows me to wake up and be on this earth. I find something every single day. I find some part of that day that brings me joy.
Mm.
Every single day, I make sure I don't go to bed without having experienced joy in something. And I could have like a horrific day, but I try to make sure that before I lay my head down, something in that day has brought me happiness. Something has brought me joy. And it could be the silliest things. It could be going on TikTok and laughing at some silly video,
Mm-hmm.
but that is, it counteracts the craziness of the world.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
counteracts the craziness that comes your way every day, because we see it like the world is upside down now. There's just really unsettling things happening every single day. And if you're not aware of it, and if you don't realize that you've got to do something that brings you joy, you can be, it can be overwhelming. You can be consumed by it. And you can also be fearful of it because we don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So every single day, I just think it's so important to find that one small thing that you find some joy in, because you hear the old cliche that tomorrow is not promised. And when you get to be my age, it becomes particularly um, important to recognize that you don't have to wake up tomorrow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a given. That's
Yeah.
not a given.
Mm. Wow, you've given so many amazing nuggets, and I just want to find out, like, one last thing,
Sure.
is, do you have any advice for women who are curvy women who have a very difficult time finding the beauty in themselves? What do you tell those women? And even there are women that are not curvy who have a hard time finding beauty in themselves. So for the women who go their day-to-day lives and they look in the mirror, they don't even like looking in the mirror, what do you tell a woman like that?
And you're right about the size. I'll give you a quick story. I was giving out a presentation. It was one of my grant writing presentations, and typically I'm dressed head to toe. And a young lady came up to me afterwards, and she was in distress. And this was like a grant writing webinar, but she came up to me and she said, "Linda, I mean, you're clearly, like, what you have on is so beautiful. Your hair, your makeup." She's like, "I don't know what to do with my body. I had a baby, and my body is different than it used to be, and I don't know how to dress, and I don't know where to go." And she was literally in distress.
Mm,
She might have been a size 6.
wow.
Might have been a size 6. But
Wow.
here she is looking at a body that's different than what she's accustomed to. So what I say to women is that regardless of what society is trying to get you to think about what you should be, how you should look, you cannot let people rent space in your head. You cannot. Because when you look in the mirror, you've got to understand that what you see, whether it's rolls, whether it's cellulite, whether it's big, I have big arms, whether it's big butt, big thigh, it is a part of who you are. And once you start hating a part of who
Mm,
you are, it's so easy for you not only to hate yourself, but for you to not receive love from anybody else. Because if you don't love yourself, it's hard to receive love. And if you
mm,
have the mentality that you don't like what you see, you don't like your hands, you don't like your butt, you don't like your brush, you don't like something about yourself, and you began to see that as a negative, that is how you show up to the world. And you don't want to show up to the world as somebody that thinks that they're less than, because then that is what you start to attract. And for many
mm,
women, I find that they
mm,
get themselves into abusive relationships because they don't think they're good enough. because
Yeah.
they don't think they look good enough, or they don't think they have the perfect body. There is no such thing as a perfect body. I tell this woman all the time, there's no such thing as a bikini body. There's no such thing as a beach body. Everything that you see that's in that mirror makes up who you are, and you're here, which means you're meant to be here. It means you are worthy just the way you are. It's great to be on a trajectory towards better health. You want to lose weight, you want to be healthier, beautiful, wonderful. But right now, what you see in the mirror is what you get. And it deserves love because it's you, it's a part of who you are. So I say to women, embrace who you are right now, right? Because right now, at this moment, this is what you have. And if you're not careful, you will never get to the point where you're completely satisfied. There will always be something that you
Mm.
look at and that you think is less than that and you think you're not worthy because you don't look a certain way. And we have to understand that we've been given a false narrative because
Yeah.
the women that we see on the magazine covers, the women that we see in social media, are a figment of our imagination, right?
Mm.
Because cellulite in the size 2 woman, and I've seen it, has been photoshopped out,
Oh
or
yeah.
have been made bigger, or they've been made curvier,
Yeah.
right? And so as you are right now, it's got to be good enough to get you through the day, to say, you know what, I love myself enough to get through this day, to get through to tomorrow, to say, okay, if you want to lose weight, wonderful. Be on this plan to lose weight. That's great. But it can't be either or. It has to
Mm.
be both. It has to
Mm.
be both. You can love yourself and show up and still be on a trajectory towards better health. Health. So that is what I really, really, really try to get women to understand. Like, no day is going to be perfect, but as what you see in the mirror, it really is good enough for today. It's good enough
Mm.
for today because today is all you have right now. If you keep basing your life on what you think you want to look like in a year or 6 months, the 6 months may never come. The year may
Wow.
come. So what do you do about today? If you're
Mm.
focused on what you think you might want to look like, how about what do you do about today? How about today? Because you've got to live
Wow.
through the day. You've got to love yourself today. And so that's truly what I try to get women to understand. They've got to
Oh
be
my
good enough
gosh.
right now. They've got to be good enough right now.
That's so, oh gosh, that's so powerful. Because as you just mentioned, the way that you feel about how you look impacts everything about
Everything.
your life. It
Everything.
impacts your relationships.
Everything.
It impacts your work ethic. It
Yes,
impacts the way that you even interact with your children. It
absolutely.
impacts everything.
Everything. It really does. It is it it is it encompasses, right, what we call self-esteem, right? It encompasses what we call self-esteem. And
Yeah.
when you are constantly being negative about what you see in the mirror, that's what you give to the world. That
Yeah.
women don't understand that. That is what they're presenting to the world. Oh, I think I'm less than because my hair doesn't look a certain way, or my lips don't look a certain way, or my butt is too big, or I have a big stomach, or my thighs rub together, or I have cellulite. And oftentimes, that is not even what people see. Like
That's
when I show up as the most authentic, best person that I can, to the point when people see me, they're not wondering, does she have cellulite under that dress? Or does she have rolls in her stuff? That's not what people think when they see
right.
me. That's not what they think because I don't let them think that when they see me because I'm not concerned about it. I show up as me, as a person who's self-confident, who has self-esteem, that says, you know what, I'm a big girl. I'm 61 years old. I'm still a big girl, but I'm here. I'm doing my thing. I'm helping people. I'm serving. I'm here. And
Mm.
so that whole negative narrative is not what they see when they see me. And that's what everybody has to do. And it's not about makeup or hair. I mean, it's great if you want to be able to put on makeup, even if you don't want to put on any makeup, right? you're still going to be beautiful, but you have to be beautiful to you first,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
be beautiful to you first.
Yeah. Before you can be beautiful to anybody else.
Beautiful to anybody else. And
Mm-hmm.
women don't understand how much, right, residue that self-hatred puts out into the world, because
Oh my gosh.
it's residue. And women don't understand that. They don't realize that. And so if they get nothing else out of the book, it's love yourself first. Love every part, every bit of you first,
That's
because it
powerful.
changes everything. It changes
Gosh.
everything.
You know what? Okay, not to get off on a tangent. I just had an epiphany while you were speaking. One of the things that I noticed that there's a lot of women who talk about the fact that during intimacy, during sex, they don't. A lot of times, women don't have the best experience with it. One of the things that I think that the case might be is because of their body self-consciousness.
Oh, of course it is.
You know,
Of
body
course it is.
self-consciousness.
Of course it is. Because let me say this. They're so concerned about, oh, I don't know if I don't want him to see these rolls. And the man is probably trying to find some butter to put on those rolls. And
I
here you are trying to cover up the rolls, and he's trying to find some linen and
know.
butter. Okay.
Right.
So women don't, it's here.
Yes.
Men don't care.
Yes.
Men don't care. They don't care. We
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
We care. And so, absolute, again, it's about how you feel about yourself. If you think you're showing up sexy, you've got cellulite, you've got rolls. Look, that's natural. Women have cellulite, women have rolls, right? And you feel like you looking good anyway, and that's how you show up. What do you think's going to happen? How do you think he's going to receive you? But if you're covering
Absolutely.
up like, I don't, I just don't feel good about, how does that affect the mood?
Yeah.
How does that affect how he sees you?
Absolutely.
Right? If you don't even see yourself as desirable,
Yeah.
right? Again, how you see yourself puts out residue on how people receive you. So absolutely, and that's not just for plus size women. Again, that's
Everybody.
hole that women fall into. You can be the woman who was a size 6, who was telling me that she was traumatized because she couldn't do anything with her body because she had a baby. And women who are over 50, look, if you're over 50, you may be a size 6, but your size 6 body is not your 19-year-old size 6 body. Okay.
Woo.
It's not. So you still have to adapt, and you still have to be okay with it. And so, absolutely, I agree totally that it's about self-image. The intimacy issue is about self-image.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I am in the early stages of menopause,
Mm.
and my body has definitely changed
Mhm.
since then. And I've been struggling a little bit. I've been struggling, and so to hear you say this it's not. I'm hoping that the people that are watching, that it's helping them, but it's definitely helping me. You know, I have a
I'm glad. I'm
you
glad.
know
I've been through menopause. I went through menopause early. So I am perimenopausal. I've been through the hot flashes. I've been through the night sweats. And so, but there are other changes that happen to a woman's body when she goes through menopause. And a lot of it has to do with vaginal health. A lot of it
yeah,
has to do with sensation. A
yeah,
lot of it has to do with vaginal dryness. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want women to think that something's going wrong with them, or there's something is incorrect with their body. That is something that a lot of women deal with when they go through menopause. But
mhm,
there's help for that. There's
yeah,
help for that. The problem is women are kind of scared and don't want to go to their gynecologist
yeah,
or, whatever doctor that they have. They need to be able to talk to their doctor about it, because there's help. There's
yeah,
help for
yeah,
women when it comes to sexual health after they either, maybe they're going through menopause, or after they come out of menopause, because your bodies are different.
yeah, yeah,
But I want women to know you don't have to suffer in silence, because I think the majority of women are suffering in silence because they're embarrassed, and
yep,
there's nothing to be embarrassed about, because it's a completely natural progression of what a woman's body goes through when she hits her late 40s or 50s or 60s or even 70s, right? Because there's no reason why you can't be sexually active if you're in your 70s, 80s. I know women who are sexually active in their 80s, right? There's no reason why you can't be.
Yeah.
Get the help that you need. Get the help that you need.
Gosh, this is so good. My gosh, you know what? It's like I don't even want to let her go, man. But I do want to put on the screen Linda's book, The Cultured Curves Guide to Style for Mature Curvy Women by Lindy Peavy. Yes. Please go out and get the book. I didn't have time to get the book. You know, now I'm like, now that you've talked about this, I'm like, I need to go get this book.
Oh,
because, I mean, it sounds like there's so much rich information in there that I know I'll be able to use. And then please go to her website, theculturecurves.com. So this is the website where you'll find her blog.
Yes.
All of the tips and things that we were talking about today is on this particular website, www.cultured.com. Go to her website. And then if you are someone who is looking for grant funding and want to know how to write grants, like I said, Linda is the fashion and funding diva. Okay, she's together. And if you need help with that, go to her website, lipav.com.
Yes.
And go to her website. When the show closes, I'll make sure that I put all of this information in the show notes so that you all can just click on the links and go to her website and find out all the information about Linda. But how else would people be able to get connected with you, Linda?
They can follow me on Instagram. It's Cultured Curves, the number 1. So Cultured Curves, just like what you see in the blog. Cultured Curves, the number 1. They can follow me on Instagram. They can also join the Facebook group, because I have a community of women in the Facebook group. So all you have to do is put in Cultured Curves. When you go into Facebook, there's a page that you can follow, but definitely come be a part of our community, our Facebook group community under Cultured Curves. We would love to have you. And Linda@culturedcurves.com. That's my email address if you have any questions, or maybe you would like me to come speak for you. I do presentations. I do body positivity presentations. I've done that all over the world, St. Martin, Jamaica, New York, you name it. I'd be happy to come speak to your audiences. So yeah, definitely come join our community of like-minded women who are encouraging and empowering each other to live their best lives as mature curvy women.
Wow. Well, Linda, I look forward to staying in touch with you. We have a lot of things in common, and you know, I just admire you so much. Ever since the first time I met you, and you didn't know I was admiring you because I was sitting on your webinar listening to all the fantastic information. But I've admired you since I had a chance to meet you through your webinar, and you're just a fantastic lady. And I really look up to you.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you. Thank you for the podcast. Thank you for bringing this platform, right, for us, right, to come be fed, right? This is an opportunity for us to come be fed. So thank you so much for everything that you do, for the amazing work that you do, for the phenomenal book that you have. I know you've been touring the United States, so I mean, you're a blessing to us. You need to know that, like, you need to receive that you've been a blessing to us. So keep it going. Keep it going.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, Linda. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Tameka. Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, she is so fabulous. Oh, this is the part of the show where I give a little bit of information about resources. As you all know, I'm a fashion scholar. I am an educator, someone who believes in making sure that I leave my audience with a piece of information, some resources that they can use beyond the show. When this episode closes, you'll still be able to have information that you can go to. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put her book back on, Linda's book back on the screen here so that you all can get a chance to see it. Go pick up her book. The book sounds fabulous. I mean, she's a wealth of information. So many gems were dropped in this short amount. We've only been talking for about maybe 50 minutes or so. We've been talking, and she's dropped so many gems. And so I can just imagine what's in the book. So please go and get her book. And for those of you that have been continuing to follow me, and as Linda mentioned, I'm still on tour with my book, Black Hair in a White World. And if you are looking for a speaker to come out and talk about Black hair discrimination, Black hair politics, if you want somebody to come and speak to your group about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm here. I'm here to be able to educate, to be able to talk about the things that I love talking about empowerment. Please connect with me at drtamekaellington.com. If you click on the contact tab, you can put in some information about the event that you have coming up, and I would love to pull through. So if you enjoyed this episode of the Black Beauty Activist podcast, please like it. This podcast streams live on Facebook. We stream live on LinkedIn. We also stream live on YouTube. Once the episode is all finished and it's ready to go, it will be available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So please, if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave me some great information, some comments. I want to thank you all for joining me today. And as Linda was talking about with this whole idea of self-esteem, the way that we feel about ourselves has a lot to do with fear, has a lot to do with ego. Okay. I always end every single episode of the Black Beauty Activist podcast by saying, on the other side of fear is your beautiful confidence, because that is the absolute truth. If you have fear inside of you for any reason, whatever the case might be, it's going to impact how you show up in the world. It's going to impact how you show up at work, how you show up in relationships, how you even show up for yourself. The promises that you make yourself, you may not go through with those promises because you may have some fear inside of you. So please know that on the other side of fear is your beautiful, beautiful confidence. I thank everybody for watching. This was a fabulous, this was probably one of my favorite shows that I've done. Now, we are blessed to have been in now our third season. This was episode number 9. I'm just so thrilled at how the podcast has been coming along, but this has definitely been one of my favorite episodes. So I hope you all enjoyed. Peace and blessings, everybody.